You ever just feel bad? You ever just experience an overwhelming sense of dread at the prospect of your life continuing to move forward incessantly as you stand still? The wheels of time infinitely churning as possibility recedes behind you, and you are paralyzed to do anything about it. You ever been overwhelmed by a tide of desperation as you realize that during your fleeting existence, reality itself seems to be stacked against you and your dreams? And the disconnect between what you need and what you have is an abyss so wide that you'd need a helicopter to cross it. You ever think of yourself as worthless and devoid of any sort of reason or justification for a continued existence on planet Earth? Well, don't worry about it. Just change your attitude and you will immediately stop feeling bad. Frankly, it's a little weird you didn't think of this yourself. When the demons are gnawing at the fringes of your consciousness and the evil thoughts of self-hatred are boring themselves into your brain like spears into a big block of butter, just don't think about them. Just stop thinking about them. If you think you're worthless, just stop. Just stop thinking that. Things would be so much easier if you just had a positive outlook on life. Duh. You'd be able to get a whole lot more done if setbacks didn't discourage you, but instead spurred you on to fight more. So just change your attitude. Just do it right now. It's so easy. Just literally all you have to do is do it, and all of your problems are fixed. After all, it's only in your head, right? It's only thoughts that you think with your mind. This right here is the most toxic line of argumentation that I see in layman and sometimes professional mental health circles anywhere in the world, and I do see it pretty much every single fucking day. Anytime someone goes off about their depression, anxiety, self-hatred, repeating intrusive thought patterns that lead them into self-destructive spirals of death, there will be some motherfucker going, "You should just think positive thoughts and it'll go away." No, it will not. That is not how this works. Just because something is a thought doesn't mean it isn't real. Your attitude isn't just some ephemeral idea. It is literally the way that your brain is physically wired. And thoughts are very much real. In fact, to the person thinking them, they are the most real thing that there is, because your entire reality is ultimately constructed from stimuli that you receive through your perceptions, through your sensory organs, mixed up with all this shit that you have in your head. And this sounds like the kind of thing that, the kind of person would say who just doesn't believe that mental health is a thing or that people struggle with mental issues. The problem is, very often, it isn't that kind of person at all that's saying this. In fact, a lot of them will readily admit that mental health is important and that self-care is something that you should devote and dedicate yourself to at least a certain extent over your life. They just also think that you can change it like snapping your fingers. And it's not like they're wrong in identifying the core of the issue. If you have low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, what have you, there's a wide array of different things you could have that could lead you to these kinds of things. It is true that ultimately the cure for them is to change your attitude. The problem is that these people think that's the first step that you should take, and that you can just do it by thinking about it. When in fact, this is a massive project that can require years of intense self-care and working through a lot of shit with the help of loved ones and trained professionals. You can change your attitude, you just can't do it like this. And suggesting that it is possible is unbelievably toxic and counterproductive. There's several reasons why people think like this. Group A, probably the most common, just has never experienced any sort of psychological disorder that would distort what they call their attitude. They just never had to struggle with that. They always had a functioning brain that did everything the way it was supposed to, and always were able to psychologically self-regulate it in the way that you're supposed to be able to do it. They haven't experienced depression, but they have experienced being sad, and then they were sad for a while, and they adjusted their attitude, and everything was fine, and now they think they know what depression is like. Which is what they don't seem to understand, that the experience of thinking and being alive might maybe be different for other people than them. And it's really strange to me that even though they again and again and again and again are confronted with this notion, they never seem to understand that other people whose brains are literally physically wired differently than theirs and have different needs to them might not be able to use the exact same techniques that they are in order to adjust themselves. The second group is perhaps the most infuriating because they have ample experience with depression and low self-worth. They went through it and healed from it. They managed to adjust their attitude. And what happened to them is that one day they woke up and decided everything was fine. This is not at all an uncommon phenomenon. Except, of course, they tend to neglect to tell you the years they spent working through the issue and being in therapy. There's literally people out there who have compartmentalized their dark episodes to such an extent that they do not associate the process of healing with the point at which they became healthy. Just imagine you break your arm and you go to the doctor and you get it put in I don't think they put it in casts anymore. The technology has advanced beyond that. But, the thing that you have and then you can't use it for several months or however the fuck long it takes to heal an arm. I've never broken any limbs. Go to regular doctor's visits, they check it out, you get like x-rays and what have you, and then at some point it's healed. And you think to yourself, oh yeah, this whole process had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that my arm is healed. I just woke up one morning and it was fixed. Because a rapid shift in attitude after years of therapy is something that happens rather frequently. But to then not understand that maybe the process leading up to that had something to do with it, that's like actually insane. And then of course there is Group C, the saddest of them all. These are people who actually legitimately suffer from mental health disorders that distort their sense of reality and their sense of self. It's just that they've been bombarded with so much just change your attitude propaganda that it's become a mechanism to fuel their self-hatred. They use it to pretend that everything is fine when really it is not, because they will do everything in their power to not actually get the help that they need. Because that's one of the key aspects of mood disorders, is that they really do not want to be cured, and they're very cunning in making that happen, or, not happen. If you ever had to make someone aware that they are depressed, you will probably be familiar with this kind of situation, where there is a complete and utter refusal to admit that anything is wrong at all. And that's exactly what this just change your attitude mind virus is. It's a way to pretend like nothing is wrong, even when you have learned all of the information that very definitively proves that something is very, very wrong. And conveniently, it's also something that can make things worse, because if you think that you can just think your mental health problems away like this, well then that's a very good reason to punish yourself for failing to do so. And that's exactly what you're doing when you tell other people this kind of shit. You are putting the blame for their mental health problems on them and making them punish themselves for it. You are literally victim blaming. So if you're thinking about telling someone that the way to escape their mood disorder is to change their attitude, be sure to make very clear that this isn't an overnight process or something they can do in a snap. It is actually something that's very involved, requires a lot of time and energy, and the help of loved ones and professionals. It's a struggle that's worth it, definitely, and it is definitely possible to do so. It's just not a fucking magic trick you can pull off like changing your underwear. And to pretend like it is actually massively toxic to whomever you are pretending to try to help. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, buying some of my merchandise or my short story collection. And in that spirit, Sagma Ligma, I am probably in Spain right now hanging out with my grandma. I wish you the best with your mood disorders or other mental health issues that you are struggling with, and see you around, cunts!